Obviously, very, very personal, but I do think about how you want to be in 10, 20, 30 years' time.
Maybe 50, 60, because it does work. So once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, Verity, thanks ever so much for coming in. That went so quickly, but I'm sure if
that was
anybody...
really interesting, wasn't it?
If anybody wants to get in touch with you, we can always forward things on. So if there's any questions, you can get in touch on Twitter with @LifestyleMK. And also via email, we can always forward that, which is lifestylemk@seclosounds.org. So coming up in a few moments, we've got Jill talking to us about what to do in your garden. Jill's from Potash Nursery, Stoke Hammond. Drayton Parslow, I should say. And until then, anything you've got to say?
I haven't got anything to say apart from the next song that's coming up, and hopefully it's going to play properly.
That'd be nice.
It's called Rudy, A Message to You.
Time you straighten right out.
This is Seklo Sounds. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for 1 hour in the company of Harry and Edna on the Wireless, exploring all aspects of the vintage scene and playing tip-top gramophone tunes. Harry and Edna on the Wireless, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on seklosounds.org. Jolly good.
Hi, you've come to the Candy Club. This is the exclusive club that plays music that you wouldn't have heard of unless you found those hidden stages at festivals or ventured into cabaret clubs. Thankfully, this exclusive club has a really full guest list, but your name is already down. So come on in, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. here at Seklo Sounds.
Good evening, you're listening to Lifestyle MK on Seklo Sounds. That's community radio for Milton Keynes. And I'm Andrina, and I'm here with Gary.
Hello.
Hello. Gorgeous Gary, as we're
Lovely
now
Andrina.
known.
Amazing Andrina.
I'm not liking that much.
No, me neither.
And so we just heard from Verity about laser treatment, very informative, and some personal information there. And now we're joined by Jill Gallen.
Right.
And she's from Potash Nursery.
I am indeed, yes.
Potash Nursery, and I'm going to get this right, in Drayton Parslow.
You have got it right. We're actually just outside Drayton Parslow.
Okay.
But our postcode's Drayton.
Okay. And Potash Nursery do a little feature for us in the Vine magazine. And we're going to be talking today about what to do in your garden in April.
And there's certainly lots to do.
Well, we're lucky the sun came out, didn't it?
It's been absolutely glorious the last few days.
And as I know from my back, everybody else probably the same, just getting into the garden, I've been lifting bags of compost and I'm sore.
Yes. One of the problems with gardening is that you can overdo it very, very easily.
And you just can't resist.
No, it's always a case of you see one thing and then that leads to something else and to something else and you just keep going and keep going.
Now, I've got 1,001 questions I could be asking you, but I think we'll stick to the plan for the moment. Would you like to tell us some of the things that people could be doing in April?
Well, a lot of it is actually about getting the garden ready for the summer. Yeah. So doing lots of the weeding, especially getting rid of your annual weeds before they start to set seed. Digging over the garden, which doesn't help your back particularly, and generally just getting things prepared and ready.
Now, I keep hearing about mulch. What is that something now, or was that beyond before?
Mulch is certainly something you can do now. Basically, what a mulch is just a case of putting an extra layer of something useful on top of your soil. Okay. So you can put compost down, which will then add an extra feed into it. But you can also mulch with things like bark chippings. Or if you wanted to, you can do a gravel mulch or a slate mulch. Really? Yes. So they won't help the soil content, but it will stop the weeds coming up.
Ah, yeah. And how do you feel about weed killer? Is that a no?
Definitely not. It's a very, very useful tool.
Okay.
I wouldn't be without weed killers.
Oh, okay. I didn't know whether we were on tricky territory there.
No, there's a lot of people who do want to go for more of the organic gardening, and it's a lovely thing if you've got the time and the energy to be able to do it, to let the wildlife actually control all the pests. But especially when you're doing it professionally.
I don't think the wildlife have read the manual because they don't know that they're supposed to be controlling everything, do they?
Definitely haven't.
No. The slugs have read the manual. They know they like hostas. I'm watching my hostas bin.
Yes.
Sorry.
What sort of thing? Because I'm absolutely a non-gardener, don't know anything about it. Just wondered what sort of things should you be planting around about this time of year?
You can actually plant almost anything this time of year. A lot of people are planting things that are going to flower in the summer, but there's nothing to stop you planting some of the spring bulbs so that you've got some instant colour. And you can plant, so this is a fantastic time of year to be able to plant things because the soil's still warm, it's still moist, and it's a wonderful time for things to start growing.
Now I've got a question. I've got pots with daffs in. Mm-hmm. That are just starting to go over and looking a bit ropey, but I just don't. Do you tie them up? Do you cut them off? Do you dig them up? What do you do?
You definitely don't tie them up. One of the first thing to do is to take the dead heads off if you haven't already picked them and put them in a vase in the house. Take all the dead heads off, and then, although it doesn't look all that brilliant, what you want to do is actually just leave the leaves to die down naturally, right. Because what it's actually doing is then feeding the bulb.
Oh, okay.
And all the goodness is going back into the bulb, and then next year you'll have an even better one.
I cut them off with scissors. Not anymore.
If you can bear to leave them for about 4 to 6 weeks,
okay,
then cut them off.
Okay. Because you know when you're doing like a pot with bulbs in, and then you want to plant something else, you just plant over the top.
You can just plant over the top, yes.
Okay, well that's one problem. If there's somebody like, I can't imagine who I'm thinking of here, somebody who kills plants and doesn't really want to put anything that has any work to do whatsoever, have you got a recommended plant, something you're stocking at the moment?
I think she means me there.
There are plants that you can put in. Putting in shrubs tend to be slightly less work because they, to a certain extent, look after themselves. Probably the very easiest are the conifers. that will stay green all year round, but they don't do an awful lot, although you can get different colours of conifer, different shapes, so maybe that's the answer.
I may be asking Sheena a bit later on whether it's fair to slander me on the radio like that, Gina, but you just go right ahead.
She's my solicitor, not yours. We've decided that. Hebes, you can't go...
Pardon?
Hebe.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a rude word. Hebes are lovely little plants. There are basically two different sorts. There's the low-growing ones, which do have a little bit of a flower on them, usually pink or purple sort of flower, sometimes a white one. And yes, they're very easy to look after, so maybe, Gary, that's the answer for you.
Gardening certainly gives me the heebie-jeebies, I know that much.
Oh dear, that was so bad. So are there any trends we're seeing? Is this a trend hobby?
It's an interesting one because there's a lot of people who aren't putting a lot of plants in their garden, which is a great shame because I think they're missing out the joy of being able to see the colours, different colours coming through. But I think one of the trends that we're hearing about is, and this also relates to interiors as well, is a bit of a retro move back to the 70s.
We're going to marigolds.
Well, it's not...
Dahlias and marigolds.
Certainly dahlias are coming back into fashion, but also the very bright neon type of colours that orange is supposed to be one of the things that's going to be the colour, so I have heard. And yeah, I think it's the sort of thing that with some bright oranges and lime greens, we're going to have some fantastic shows in the garden.
I hope it doesn't get back to that very neat rose in a border around the front.
No, I don't think it is. I think what's actually going to happen is we're going to go back more to the natural look. So cottage garden planting is coming back in fashion, and wildflower planting. Oh, okay. Certainly things that are going to help bees and butterflies and the pollinators. They're very much the in thing.
Oh, that's lovely. And I think with the wildflowers, it's okay if you've got a patch, an area big enough, but sometimes you look a bit unruly.
You can put wildflowers anywhere. You can have either a small little patch or you can dot them around. Things like cowslips, you don't need a big patch of cowslips.
Like
they are so pretty.
Yeah.
But you can just add those to your borders.
And if we're doing something now that, say, we're looking at May, June time to see a result, what could we look at?
So many plants actually start to flower in May and June that it's almost, you can put so many different things in. Some of the salvias will be starting to come out. The Dicentra, the bleeding hearts, will be growing and coming into flower soon. There's absolutely masses.
So if you're not quite as patient as that, what could we do right now?
Buy some tulips. They are about to start flowering. You don't need to have bought them as bulbs. Buy them as the plant, stick them in the garden, and you can watch them open up and have all sorts of beautiful colours, bright yellows, oranges, reds, purples, all sorts coming through. So that's instant colour and very, very little work.
You heard it here first. Tulips, Gary.
Tulips?
Don't even start the jokes.
No, we won't go from Amsterdam.
No.
Don't sing either, no. Please don't sing.
No, we better not.
No. What about my sweet peas?
Excuse me.
You can't, because some people say, don't plant them, do them from seed, keep them indoors. Some people are saying, Monty Don, think he mentioned putting them out right now.
I would have thought it's a little early to be putting them out. Certainly you want to be sowing them now. Some people will have started sowing them in the autumn, so they've got a bit of a head start. But sowing the sweet peas now, and I wouldn't put them out quite yet because there is still a danger, believe it or not, of frost.
Is there?
They always say wait for about another month before, because hopefully we won't, and hopefully we'll carry on with weather like we've had the last few days. But April still can have frost.
Right. We've been very lucky this year, haven't we? It's been so mild, hasn't it? So I think everything's surviving nicely. It'd be awful to have a frost now and see the
that's not what we want. Although plants are pretty hardy and a lot of them will survive.
Yeah. There was one other question I was going to ask you. Sorry? Was there something, Gary? Gary's looking
nothing.
keen to
nothing
say
at all.
something.
I'm just wondering what this question's going to be.
I've forgotten what it is now. As I say,
It's probably what do you think's best, a Japanese-style garden or a
no, it's
country
definitely
garden?
not that. No,
Yeah.
it's definitely not that. I definitely like the country-style gardens a lot better.
They are very, very popular.